So, backstory. My dad died when I was 9 and my mum when I was 15. After my mum died, my godmother adopted me. She calls herself and her husband my mum and dad. I call them mum and dad to strangers who don't know the story, but to them and friends I call them by their name. They will be called Linda and Bob for this story. We generally get along and don't typically have issues. Now for the story. My husband, male 26, and I, female 25, had our first child 5 months ago. We are pretty lax first-time parents in my opinion. We've let people hold her as long as they've washed their hands since she was born. We have drawn a hard line that no one's mouth gets near her, like I don't even want your breath hitting her. We've had issues with Linda, female 62, not respecting that. She is constantly trying to kiss her cheeks or putting my baby's hands in her mouth. I have told her time and time again that this is not acceptable, and I don't want my child getting sick. I've shown her videos of other babies with RSV and infection 19. She always agrees and says she won't do it anymore. My daughter and I went to her house for lunch this last Sunday, and while she was holding my daughter, I went to the restroom. While in there, I heard Bob, male 64, gasp and say Linda's name. When I came out and asked what happened, Linda gave Bob the look of, "You better keep your mouth shut." Bob immediately tells me that Linda kissed my daughter on the mouth. I snatched my baby back and started loading her in the car seat to leave. Linda starts trying to get me to stay, saying we haven't even eaten, etc. I refuse to stay and tell her she won't be holding my daughter for a long time. She then says, "It's just a kiss from Grammy. It's not going to hurt anything." I start yelling, "It's not a Grammy kiss, it's a stranger's kiss. You are not related to her, you share nothing biologically with her," and stormed out of the house. My husband says I'm not wrong, but I could have been nicer about it. I called Bob, and he says Linda deserved it and it was the only way she'd stop. All my friends, though, say I was being too mean and should have left without pointing out she's not really related. A second edit with an update for those who may care. I called Bob yesterday to make sure it was okay that I came over to talk to Linda. He said she was fine with it and ready to talk. I left the baby at home with my husband. When I came into the house, she asked where the baby was and rolled her eyes when I told her she's at home. I apologized for what I said and explained it was said out of anger and frustration. She bypassed my apology and asked, "Can the baby come to see my side of the family this weekend?" I was kind of stunned that we were going to bypass the huge blow-up. I told her we had plans this weekend, but next weekend would probably work. Her family lives about 3 hours away in a different state. She then requested that she just take the baby for the weekend, and my husband and I can do what we planned. That way she can properly bond with the baby without me hovering. I calmly told her no. She's still not allowed to hold the baby, so I will not be leaving the baby alone with her. She replied, "Then I don't accept your apology. I won't accept it until I'm treated like her grandma." I explained to her that my husband's mom does not get to kiss the baby, and that if my mother were here, it'd be the same. I told her I am not singling her out for this rule. She shrugged her shoulders and said she won't be happy until she gets some alone time to bond with the baby. So I told her she just won't be happy. I got up, hugged Bob goodbye, and left. I heard the yelling start as I was walking to the driveway, so I'm sure they had a nasty fight. Edit. Okay, I am the jerk. I will go and apologize to her tomorrow after work. As many of you have pointed out, there is more to our relationship than what is shown here. There was never any abuse, but I was the walking trophy of her being a good person and adopting an orphaned child. I had to look a certain way, act a certain way, and maintain a certain body to make sure I looked saved. I always did what was asked, no questions, because I owed her. After I moved out, we had lunch once a month until I became pregnant. She has been highly involved since then. Bob is a saint and I'd die for him. We've had breakfast every Sunday morning since I've moved out. I have never viewed Linda as mum, but I do view Bob as a dad. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You're the idiot because what you said didn't even have a purpose. There was no way in hell you were going to let your biological mother kiss your kid, so why point out the lack of a biological link? Comment 2. You are not related to her, you share nothing biologically with her, because that somehow makes a difference to the spread of viruses. Everyone sucks here except Bob and baby. Now for the update. Hey everyone, just wanted to give you all an update on the situation with Linda and Bob after the whole kissing incident with my baby. I know a lot of you were invested in the story, and I appreciate the advice and comments from my last post. So, after the last blow-up, things were pretty tense. I did go back to apologize to Linda, as I mentioned I would. It was a tough conversation, and honestly, it didn't go as smoothly as I had hoped. Linda was still pretty fixated on having alone time with the baby, and I stood my ground on not allowing that until she respected our boundaries. It was a stalemate, and I left feeling like we were at an impasse. Bob, bless his heart, was caught in the middle of all this. He's always been my rock, and I could tell the tension was wearing on him. We continued our Sunday breakfasts, and he tried to mediate between Linda and me, but it was clear that things weren't going to change overnight. A couple of weeks passed with minimal contact. My husband and I stuck to our guns, and Linda seemed to be slowly coming to terms with the fact that she wasn't going to get her way. It was a tough period, but it gave us all some space to cool off and think about what family really means. Then, something unexpected happened. Linda reached out and asked if we could all sit down and talk, just the four of us. I was hesitant, but Bob encouraged me to give it a shot, so we agreed. We met at their house, and Linda had prepared a small meal. It was awkward at first, but then Linda did something I never expected. She apologized. She admitted that she had been overstepping and that her desire to bond with the baby had clouded her judgment. She said she understood why we had set the rules we had and that she would respect them from now on. I was floored. It was a complete 180 from where we had been just a few weeks prior. We talked a lot that evening about boundaries, about family, and about how we all needed to work together for the sake of the baby. It was emotional, and there were tears, but it felt like a breakthrough. Linda even suggested that instead of her taking the baby alone, we could all visit her side of the family together. It was a compromise I was happy to make. The next weekend, we took the trip to visit Linda's family. It was a long drive, but it went surprisingly well. Linda was on her best behavior, and it was clear she was making an effort. Her family was welcoming, and it felt good to see them bonding with the baby in a way that respected our wishes. Since then, things have been so much better. Linda has kept her word, and our relationship has improved significantly. Bob seems relieved that the tension has eased, and my husband and I feel like a weight has been lifted. We've even started having family dinners once a week, something we hadn't done in a long time. Looking back, I realize that family isn't just about blood relations. It's about the love and respect we have for each other. It took a lot of patience and some tough conversations, but I'm glad we were able to work through our issues. Linda has become more than just the woman who adopted me. She's become a true grandmother to my child, and I'm grateful for that. In the end, it's been a journey, but I'm happy to say that we've come out of it stronger as a family. Thanks again to everyone who offered support and advice. It really made a difference during a challenging time. Now for the comments. Comment 1. Hey, it's great you stood your ground on boundaries. Maybe consider family counselling. It could help Linda understand where you're coming from and improve communication. Plus, it's a neutral space to work things out. Comment 2. Had a similar issue with my in-laws. It took a lot of talks, but we finally got on the same page. It's tough, but hang in there. Sounds like you're making progress with Linda. Now for the next story. I was lactose intolerant since I was 11. We visited my grandma frequently, and she cooked us a meal every time, and we explained the intolerance to her clearly. But she still never cooked anything for me. I ate rice by itself or similar meals. She doesn't have memory issues, so she just didn't want to make extra work for herself by making a different dish or altering the one she already planned for us. I didn't say anything because I hate conflicts, and I didn't mind going home hungry if I got to spend time with my family. Every time before we left, my mother told my grandma in a calm way that what she did was disrespectful and made me sad. Later, my aunt, her son and husband moved in with my grandmother. She worked for the dairy industry and had friends whose children have food allergies, so she is quite educated on lactose intolerance. When they moved in, her and my grandma did the cooking 50-50, but nothing changed for me. They still didn't make anything for me. One day, when this had gone on for several years, my mother had enough, called my grandmother, threatening her that she would never see me again if she didn't prepare me at least one dish the next time we visit. I didn't know of this phone call and thought they realized they should care about me enough to cook me something I could eat. After this point, I always had something to eat. In 2020, I went vegan, telling them ahead of time. My aunt's family moved to a different, but when we visit, they still make the meal 50-50. Making vegan foods doesn't cost them more because they don't buy me special vegan substitutes. They just make the same meal without animal products. I don't expect them to. Just saying that my diet doesn't affect their finances. One Christmas, my grandma comes to our house, and the other she goes to theirs. And on the 25th, the other side of the family visits the house Grandma stayed at, and we prepare a tasty holiday feast. Last time when it was our turn to celebrate with Grandma, my mother, not vegan, decided to make a plant-based feast for the family. Everyone said that it was good. Now I know how to cook and I see how much my mother works during the holidays, so I decided to do it all, so she could relax. I can't cook meat and don't want to. When my aunt heard that there won't be any meat on the table at the family gathering, she got angry at me and said that I am selfish because I'm the only vegan in the family. I asked her children and grandma if they had problems with a vegan meal. They don't. She says that satisfying guests is her priority and doesn't get why she can't get the same attention back. I feel like it's rude to criticize my Christmas menu almost 20 days before Christmas and also complain about the food when I still have no idea what I'll make. Her oldest son keeps sending me vegan recipes, excited about a vegan Christmas. I don't like seeing people eating dead animals, so it would be a Christmas gift for me. Am I the idiot for not changing my mind? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. So let me see, you got sad because they didn't make any recipe for you when you were young, but that did change. Not the right way, but it did change. And when you turned vegan, you don't want to make any dish for them because you don't want to see people eating dead animals. No, not buying that hypocritical BS. You're the idiot. Comment 2. Not the idiot. As a cook, you can make what you want, and as the host, if the majority are on board, you're fine. If your aunt really wants to eat meat, she should prepare her own dish. Now, for the update, thanks to everyone who read my last post. It's been a month since I shared my story and a lot has happened since then. After my aunt blew up about the vegan Christmas menu, things got pretty tense. I was determined to stick to my guns, but I also didn't want to ruin the holiday spirit. So, I spent hours researching and testing recipes to make sure I could whip up a feast that would impress even the most skeptical meat-eaters in my family. The days leading up to Christmas were a bit of a blur. My mum was surprisingly supportive of my decision to take over the cooking. She even helped me shop for ingredients and prep some of the dishes. It was nice to see her relax for once, and we bonded over peeling potatoes and chopping veggies. My grandma was curious about the whole vegan thing. She asked a lot of questions, which I was more than happy to answer. It felt good to share something I'm passionate about with her, and she seemed genuinely interested. As for my aunt, well, she didn't say much after her initial outburst. Her son, my cousin, kept sending me those vegan recipes, which was a huge help. He was really excited about the menu, and his enthusiasm was contagious. It was nice to have someone in my corner. Finally, Christmas Day arrived. I was a bundle of nerves, but I had a game plan and was ready to execute it. The house smelled amazing as I cooked dish after dish. My mum set the table, and my grandma helped with the last-minute touches. When my aunt and her family arrived, there was an awkward moment where we all just kind of looked at each other. But then my cousin broke the ice by raving about the vegan lasagna he'd helped me pick out. That seemed to thaw the tension a bit. Dinner was, well, it was something. Everyone was polite as they filled their plates. I held my breath as they took their first bites. And then something amazing happened. My grandma's eyes lit up. She said she couldn't believe there was no meat in the lasagna because it was so flavorful. My mum nodded in agreement, and even my aunt had to admit that it was good. The rest of the meal went off without a hitch. The conversation flowed and there was a lot of laughter. My cousin was right. The vegan Christmas was a hit. And the best part, there were no complaints about the lack of meat. After dinner, we all pitched in to clean up. My aunt pulled me aside and apologized for her reaction to the vegan menu. She said she was just stressed about the holidays and took it out on me. I told her I understood and that I was just glad everyone enjoyed the meal. As we sat around the living room, full and happy, I realized that this was what Christmas was all about. It wasn't about the food on the table, but the people around it. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was truly part of the family. So, am I the jerk for not changing my mind about the vegan Christmas? I don't think so. In fact, I think it brought us all a little closer together. And who knows, maybe next year my aunt will be the one sending me vegan recipes. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. Oh honey, navigating the culinary minefield of family gatherings is tougher than a well-done steak at a vegan barbecue. You're not the villain for wanting to share your plant-based passion. It's like trying to DJ at a silent disco. You just want everyone to dance to your tune for a night. Comment 2. Curious, did your aunt ever explain why she felt you were being selfish? It's great that you're sticking to your guns and your greens, but maybe next time, a little side chat with Auntie might smooth things over. Keep cooking with love and they'll taste the care in every bite. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.